What's up guys, I'm Newbie Dave and today we're building a gold farm. Let's get started. So how's it going everybody? Hope you're having a great day. This is going to be kind of a long build. This is going to take a while. I actually thought about splitting it up into two separate episodes, but I decided to just go ahead and try to knock it all out in one episode. So it might be a little bit longer than usual. So I'm going to cut out all of the early pleasantries and just jump right into it. This is going to be a gold farm. It's a little bit of a misnomer because you actually get very little gold ingots from this farm. You're mostly going to be getting gold nuggets, which can then be turned into gold ingots, and you're also going to be getting tons of rotten flesh and boatloads of experience. It is such a good XP farm. I'm a little bit nervous because I've never actually built a gold farm in a survival world. I've used gold farms. I've built this thing in a creative world to get ready for this episode, but I've never built one myself in a survival world. So this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I have picked a spot that's a little ways away from my base. You can see kind of my house through the trees over there. I'm on the other side of my tree farm. And this was intentional. You want to build this thing kind of far away from everything else for two reasons. One is we're going to be building 4 giant nether portals, and you don't want those nether portals linking to any other nether portal that you're going to be using. So that's why I built it really far away from my other nether portal. It's probably still going to link up to it in the nether once we build them, so I'm probably going to have to hop over there and build a new nether portal specifically for these to link to. But the other reason is I'm eventually going to move some cleric villagers in here to sell all the rotten flesh to, and I don't want them anywhere near my iron farm or anything else in my base. So that's why I'm building this thing so far away. Now for this farm, I heard somewhere that you want it to be chunk aligned. It's going to be bigger than a chunk, so you want it to be centered on the corner of 4 chunks, and that's what I've kind of marked out here. I don't really know why, and personally I'm never going to leave this farm with it running. I'm always going to turn it off when I leave it, so I don't really know how important that actually is, but where I wanted to build this, the 4 corners of 4 chunks lined up pretty close to where I was going to put it anyway, so why not? Now, first thing I want to do is I'm going to fill in a lot of this area with dirt because I want this whole thing to be level, and rather than clearing some of the dirt out, I'm just going to go ahead and put some dirt in to get it all the same level. Now, this is going to be a pretty big farm. It's going to be, the sides of it are going to be 23 by 23, and it's going to be a giant cube. So if this is going to be the center, then I want to go out, I'm going to go out 12 blocks from each corner, which is going to be a little bit bigger than I need, but it will, it'll cover everywhere that we're going to be building. So while I'm filling in all this dirt, let me briefly explain how this farm works. There is a feature that is unique to Bedrock Edition, so if you're playing on Java, then this farm's not going to work for you, where anytime a nether portal lights, there's a chance that it will spawn some zombified piglin. And the bigger the portal is, the better the chance. You might even get 2 or 3 zombified piglins to spawn. And so the idea is you want, you could build 1 nether portal and this farm would work. Just by building more, you're going to get better yields, better spawn rates, and more loot that way. So the idea is we want to have 4 giant nether portals, as big as you can possibly make them. And it's going to be hooked up to this redstone clock that's going to cause the portals to turn on and off and on and off and on and off. And that's going to cause zombified piglin to spawn, and I need more dirt. So that's going to cause zombified piglin to spawn, and then we will move those piglin into a kill chamber where they will die, and they will drop their loot. Now, when you kill zombified piglins, they will drop rotten flesh, they will drop gold nuggets, they will drop gold ingots, and they will drop gold swords. And so, if you're paying attention, 3 of those 4 items are made of gold. The gold ingots, I mean, that's perfect. That's ultimately what we want. The gold nuggets, you're going to get a lot of gold nuggets. But that's okay because gold nuggets can be turned into gold ingots. And the gold swords, I've seen a lot of these farms where the people just destroy the gold swords. They just dump them into some lava and destroy them. Like, half of the gold nuggets you can get from this farm are going to come from the gold swords if you smelt them down. And so I'm going to smelt down all the gold swords and just about double the rates of this farm. Alright, so there's the area where this thing's going to be built. As you can see, it is pretty big. It's a larger footprint than the iron farm, and this thing's also going to be pretty tall. So I've marked out the corners. The corners are 23 blocks apart, and that is the maximum size that you can build a nether portal. So we're going to be building 4 nether portals, and they're each going to be sharing a wall, and so that's going to save us on a few resources. So you are going to need lots and lots of obsidian. I think you're going to need about 4.5 stacks. I got a little bit more than that, so we'll definitely be good here. And I got most of this from mining the obsidian pillars in the end. So after you fight the dragon, there's 8 or 10 obsidian pillars and they've got hundreds and hundreds of obsidian each. And so you can just go mine those and get all the obsidian that you need. So let me build one of these portals first, and this thing should be 23 blocks across. And then we're also going to go up 23 blocks. So there's one. I need to go up 22 more. So there's 2, 3, 4. So there's 22. So this is 23 blocks high. And now we'll go back across. And this is where having an elytra really helps, because now we can just glide back down. And then we will build the 4th side to this, going all the way up. So there is our first gigantic nether portal. You can already see how big this build is going to be. So first thing I want to do is just go ahead and light this thing up to make sure that it works, and make sure I didn't build it too big, and also then go through it and build a nether portal on the other side in the nether that all 4 of these will link to, because some of the zombie piglin, they will end up going through these portals and end up in the nether. And that's why I don't want it linked to my nether portal over there. I don't want to go to the nether and be greeted by 100 zombified piglins. So let's light this up. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. I made this thing 24 blocks wide. See, that's why you want to test it out first. What happened was I measured out from the center to mark each of the corners, and so I think I either counted 1 block twice, or I don't know. So not a problem, easily fixed. I just filled in that edge that's 1 block in closer. And now I'm just going to tear down this outer edge. So now this should light. Yeah, there we go. So I made it the right height. I just made it 1 block too wide. Always test your builds before you move on. So, oh, okay, there. We already got a zombified piglin. So you can see by lighting that, a zombified piglin spawned. And you do want to pay attention to what side of the gate it spawns on. So he spawned on this side. I am going to mark that somehow. I'm going to, I guess, dig up this wool. And I will mark... I'll put the wool down on this side to indicate that for this nether portal, they're going to spawn on this side. This is going to be very, very important later. So let's get rid of you. And I'm going to go through this portal. Like I said, it's probably going to end up linking to my portal. Yeah, which it did. So the portals are going to link up if they're within 125 blocks of each other. And in the nether, where it would link up to the other one is within 125 blocks of this portal, and so because there was already a portal within that range, it just linked to this one. So based on where the other nether portals are located in the overworld, I need to build a new portal over here, right about here actually, in order for all those to link to it. Which is actually going to put this thing right in the middle of the nether fortress, or this is kind of not good. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up into the roof of the nether and build a portal up there, and hopefully it will link to the one up there and not to this one. Let me do that. Alright, so here I built a nether portal right around the coordinates in the nether that map to where the nether portal is in the overworld, but I'm up at Y110, so I'm up in the roof of the nether. If I go through this, and beautiful, it leads me out to the new nether portal over by the gold farm. Big question is, if I go back through this one, which one is it going to link to? And it's still linked to my nether portal over here. That's what I was afraid of. Unfortunately, this one, just the distance between the two, this one's actually still closer. So unfortunately, I think my best bet is just going to be building a nether portal right here in the nether. And at some point in the future, I'll try to find a better plan for it, but I really don't want this to take up too much time in this episode. There we go. Okay, I just went through the big nether portal in the overworld, and it took me to this one. So this is fine. This is okay. I'll come back and do something with this in the future. But for now, at least, the piglins that spawn in this gold farm won't come out through my nether portal, and then I'll find a way to block that other one off sometime. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and break this so that it's not sitting there active the whole time. And then I'm going to go ahead and build the other 3 giant portal frames. Hopefully getting the dimensions correct this time. Alright, so we've got all 4 portals built. I'm going to go ahead and light them all up again to make sure that they work, that I got the dimensions right, and also to figure out which side the zombie piglins are going to spawn on. Now we already know for this one it's going to be on this side. This is the south side of the gate. The piglins should always spawn on the south or the east side, and so we just want to verify that. So if we light this one up, you can see he spawned on this side. So I'm going to mark that with a piece of wool, and then we'll break this. This one should also spawn on this side, and you may have to do it 2 or 3 times before anything spawns. Those piglins aren't going to spawn every single time the portal lights, but there you go. And then this last one should spawn on this side because it's the east side. There we go, perfect. Oh, see, we got actually 2 that time. So the reason I'm marking each side that they spawn on will become obvious in a moment when we start building the kill chambers for directing all of these zombies into the central kill chamber. So the next thing we want to do is build the triggers that are going to automatically light these portals. To do this, we're going to need some observers, some lava buckets, some trapdoors, and then some building blocks of your choice. I'm going to use this polished blackstone bricks because I think that these go really, really well with the obsidian. Now, I should take a moment to say that normally I like to blend form and function. I like to make things that work but also look really good. I mean, look at this thing. It's a giant cube, and it's going to be 4 nether portals that are constantly flickering on and off. It's going to be really hard to make this thing look good, so I'm kind of going to forego form a little bit on this build and really just try to make it work. So we want to go up a little ways. How high you build this is really up to you. I like to go maybe 4 or 5 blocks above the bottom of the frame just so that there's a little bit of room below it to do some of the other redstone stuff that we're going to need to do later. And then I'm going to put down 6 blocks like this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is going to be a little bit tricky. We want an observer that's pointing that way. So I'm going to temporarily go scooch back just a little bit and see if I can get this guy pointed that way. There we go. So we want the face pointing that direction. And then coming back this way, we're going to put down 5 more observers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, see, this is why it's tricky. When you get too close to it, then they start pointing down instead of sideways. So there we go. We've got 1 observer facing that way and 5 more observers all pointing into it. And you can see on the back here, they're all ticking off of each other. It's just a constant loop of observers ticking. And then we're going to surround this thing in blackstone bricks or the building block of your choice. Now we're going to build a wall around this that is 2 blocks tall on every side except for the front. We're going to leave the front open, the front being the side that's facing the portal. And then on the front side, we're going to put trapdoors like this. And you really only need them kind of right here where you don't need one in front of the observer that's pointing that way. And then we will finish up that front row with more blocks like that. Now, we're going to put a lava bucket in the middle right here. And that's going to flow out, and this should light the portal. There you go. So I'm not going to pretend to fully understand the Minecraft physics that's going on here, but I think what's happening is the redstone observers ticking underneath the lava is causing the game to think that the lava blocks are updating over and over and over again, which in turn causes the portal to light because it is, quote, flowing lava within 2 blocks of the portal, and that's enough to make it light. You do not want to cover this thing. I tried covering this in one of my test builds and it stopped lighting. So to test this, I'm going to go back down. I'm going to break the portal and then repair it, and it immediately lights again. I'll break it, repair it, and it lights. And so that lava is going to cause this thing to light as long as there's nothing obscuring the portal. At this point in the recording, I'm probably going to seriously turn down the in-game audio because at this point we're going to have some lit nether portals pretty much all the time, and these things can be very loud. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and break out a block on the bottom here because I don't like having these portals lit. Oh, and then I repaired it. I don't like having these portals lit the whole time while I'm working. So we're going to repeat this exact same build on all 4 sides. And again, it doesn't really matter how high up you build it or where you place it, whether it's in the middle or off to the side, as long as the 5 blocks that have lava with the observers below them are in front of the portal. By the way, I always like to give credit where credit's due. This design, it comes from a couple of different designs. I think the one that I watched was Jay-Z Plays for the basic idea of how to build one portal and how to light it and how to trigger it with water so it turns on and off over and over. The idea of putting 4 together I got from Calorical on the Realm, and then how I'm going to actually be turning this thing on and off was kind of my own modification to Jay-Z's design. And so it's a couple of different different designs being put together to make one build here. Alright, so now we can turn our attention to the inside where the zombie piglins are going to spawn, and we want to push them into the kill chamber. Now, I made a little mistake. I stopped recording and went and did some other stuff and came back and started working on the video again and actually forgot to click the record button. So I dug out this whole middle area off camera by mistake. I'm not going to fill it back in just for the sake of recording it. You want to dig down 2 blocks in this entire middle area, and it should look something like this. Hey guys, it's Newbie Day from the future. I did not notice this while editing and only noticed it while watching the video afterwards. That part of what got left out when I forgot to record earlier was the actual putting together the dispensers that have water buckets that extinguish the nether portals. I am so sorry about that. It's actually really simple. You just need to put a dispenser in front of each nether portal that has a water bucket in it, and then connect all 4 of the dispensers with redstone dust, putting repeaters where necessary to carry the signal all the way around. That's it. It's pretty simple, and I am so sorry that that got left out of the recording. Now for the north and west portals, the piglins are going to spawn on the inside, and so that is fine. We are done with those sides. For the south and the east edges, they're going to spawn on the outside, so we need something that's going to push them into the inside. So what you want to do is come all the way over here to the very edge, and where the edge of this portal is, we're going to build a trough going all the way across that is 1 block deep. And this includes going underneath our little redstone circuitry over here. And then we're going to put down a bucket of water on one end and a bucket of water on the other end. And notice it's not going to flow all the way to the middle. That is fine. Where it stops, we're going to go down 1 more row. And this entire section is where we're going to dig out and open it up to the middle area. Now on the back wall, we're going to dig back 2 blocks. And we're going to put some water back there to push the mobs forward, but if we do that, this water is going to flow into this central area, and we don't want that because we want to fill this whole area with water. We don't want this water flowing into it. So before we do that, we're going to use some ice and some buttons to separate these 2. So right here underneath the portal frame, we're going to dig down 1 more row, and we're going to fill this thing with ice. And then on top of that ice, we're going to put down some buttons. So the buttons will stop the flow of water, and the ice is slippery. And so as the water pushes the piglins onto the ice, even though the water will stop, the ice will cause them to slide on over into this central area where they'll get picked up by the water that's inside. So now we want to fill that back wall with water, and it should look like that. So just to test this, I'm going to throw another brick block into the water. And we can see it's going to flow down, drop down into that lower section, and then get pushed across the ice into the middle area. So all the piglins that spawn on this side, they're going to flow down and get pushed under the frame into the central water area with everyone else. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and then we can work on the inside. Oh yeah, one last thing about these troughs on the outside. You want to build a wall around them so that the piglins that spawn in the water can't jump out onto the land on this side. For now, I'm just going to do this out of nether bricks. I've already said I'm going to emphasize function over form on this build. I might come back at some point and replace these nether bricks with something else, but for now this will do. Okay, on the inside, in each of the 4 corners, we want to place 1 block of your choice. I'm not going to bother replacing this dirt with something else that looks better because it's just such a big area, and I'm never going to come in here when this is done, so I don't care. This is going to be almost exactly like the top water area of the iron farm, except that it's bigger. So we're gonna have to make a little adjustment for that. So on top of each block in the corner, we're gonna put down some water, and then we're gonna skip the block right next to it and start building infinite water sources going all the way across the wall like this, including right in front of the ice. You don't want to put it on the ice, you don't want to waterlog the buttons. I don't even know if you can waterlog buttons, but the point being you want it to go in front of the ice. Oh, yes you can waterlog buttons, which I did by mistake. And then when you get to the other side, again, just stop right before you get to the block in the corner. The purpose of that is if you have water sources that go all the way into a corner like this and they connect, then it's going to fill in the whole area with water sources. And we don't want that. We want water flowing from the outside edges to the center, all the way around. And there we have it. We have water all the way around the outside that's flowing into the middle. Now you'll notice it doesn't quite go as far into the middle as we want. We've got a 5x5 area in the middle that is not flowing water. So to solve this, we're going to dig down a little bit more on the inside here. And I'm going to go down 2 more blocks. You can go down more if you want. It's not really going to make that much of a difference. But I do recommend going down at least 2 blocks. And then before we go any further, decide where you want your kill chamber to be. The kill chamber is going to be 2x2, which is kind of unfortunate because this inside area is 5x5, and so it's not going to be perfectly centered. Get out of here, chicken. And so I'll just do mine right here. And so you want to go ahead and dig out your kill chamber first. And I mean, you can't go down too far with this because you have to be able to get out. But go down with your kill chamber a little ways, and then we're going to put some signs inside of this to stop the water from flowing in. And we want to do that before we break down the outside walls. And so just like with the iron farm, I'm going to put one sign there, and then a sign on top of that, and then connect these signs like this. And the reason for doing that, rather than just putting signs all around the inside, is if you just put signs around the inside of the top like that, the water is going to flow over it, whereas putting signs kind of hanging above it like this will actually stop the water from going over the kill chamber. Now we can just cut down the walls like this and let the water flow in, and it works incredibly well. So well it pushed me into the kill chamber. And so I left the corners. I think that kind of helps direct the flow of water a little bit. I don't know why I'm getting something weird like this right here, but it won't matter that much. Having said that, I'm still going to try to fix it. It may not matter, but it's going to bother me. There we go. So now anything that spawns inside or on the outside of those 2 sides will eventually slowly get pushed into the inside here and over into the kill chamber. Yes, there is a chance that they could swim back up like this, but because the flow of water is constantly pushing forward, then that should never happen. Now, one last thing to do inside here before we close it up and call it done is we want to add some torches to light up the inside of this. The reason for this is if you don't do this, you might get some other mobs to spawn inside of this farm, and you might be thinking, well, that sounds like a great plan. You know, why not get as many different types of mobs and mob loot as we can? And the reason for that is other types of mobs are going to result in other types of mob loot, which is going to go into our auto sorting system, which is going to clog things up. And so I don't want zombies, I don't want creepers, I don't want glow squid, I don't want any of those things spawning in here and clogging up the auto sorting system. So I'm going to put some torches around the inside to stop that from happening. Alright, so to work on the kill chamber, first we need to mark down where the coordinates of our kill chamber are. I'm at 14,145, 15,144. So these 4 blocks right here, I guess we could actually... Yeah, let's do that. Let's go from the inside out. That's probably a little bit easier. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to start digging out to the outside of this farm in this direction. And I'm actually going to go down a little bit more before I do this. You can make the kill chamber as deep as you want. I wouldn't suggest going beyond 20 or 22 blocks because then they will die from fall damage. But the deeper you make this, the more fall damage they'll take, which means that they will die faster. Alright, so I dug a little trench leading outside of the farm and then just dug straight up and used ladders to get out. Unfortunately, I ended up digging up right below my chests. So this is where the kill chamber is going to go. They're going to drop down onto some sort of platform right around here. And this is also where we're going to turn the farm on and off. So there's going to be two things down here that we need to turn on and off. One is the actual portal system so that the portals turn on and off. And then also there's going to be a trident killer down here that will finish off the zombie piglins. So let's build both of those really fast. I'm going to dig out a little ways around this kill chamber right here. So I'm actually going to mark out where the piglins are going to land with obsidian. This is just kind of an easy identifier for me that this is where they're going to land, this is where they're going to die, and so don't break these blocks. It's also going to be easier to see from below when we have to get down there to put in the auto sorting system. So this trident killer is pretty easy to build if you've ever built one before. What we're going to do is put a piston right there, right there, right there, and right there. And then we'll put a redstone torch on the outside corner of each of these pistons. And then we're going to put an observer facing each of those redstone torches like this. So you should have something that looks like that. I'm going to surround the rest of this with tinted glass. It can be any sort of block that you want. But the tinted glass I like because it lets you see into the kill chamber. Except for one block. We're going to leave one block open, and I'll actually put a slab there. Let me go get my stone cutter. And I'm going to put a slab right there. The reason for this is twofold. One, it lets you get in here and join in the action if you want to help kill off the piglins faster. But also that's going to, by leaving this open, the XP that drops from all the piglins, you'll be able to collect it through that little gap. So if we put a lever on here and turn this thing on, then all of the pistons should go once, and then it stops with one piston extended. If we flip it off, then they should just go round and round and round like that. So that is perfect. Now if we put the trident in, it becomes a trident killer instead of just an endless piston machine. So aim for that back piston and just throw the trident. It will stick into the piston like that, and then we can replace the glass to close this thing off. So once you turn this on, the pistons are going to go round and round and round, and they're just going to push that trident around. And anything that falls inside there, the trident's going to hit, and it's going to attack them and do damage. You want to be careful not to go into these inner blocks. I actually don't know why I can walk through this glass. That's kind of weird. You don't want to get into these corners, or else you might end up breaking, or not breaking, but either picking up the trident or like pushing it down into the hopper system, which would break the kill chamber. So the other thing that we're going to want in here that we need to be able to turn on and off is the mechanism to activate the portals. So for that one, I'm going to put a lever right there, and then behind that we will put some redstone coming down like this. Make sure that lever turns that on and off. Good. And we'll take the redstone back this direction, and we want it to go all the way out to that back portal frame. Now once again, this isn't going to have enough signal strength to reach the very back, and so I'm going to put down a repeater. I don't really care where it goes as long as it's somewhere around the middle. And I'm going to go top side so I can get the XZ coordinates of where I need to come out. So I'm going to shoot for right around here. We'll say 15, 131. I guess the X coordinate is going to be determined by the hallway that I've started down there. So 131. 131 is the Z coordinate that I want to shoot for. Alright, so I came up to the surface right here, and so I'm going to put a solid block right there. I'm going to put some redstone on top. And to get the redstone from down below all the way up, I'm going to build a little elevator of redstone torches. So to do this, I'm going to go down, and then every other block I'm going to put a solid block like this. And then on each solid block I'll put a redstone torch. What that's going to do is one redstone torch will turn off the redstone torch above it, which will allow the one above that to turn on. And so it's going to alternate on, off, on, off, on, off. And so it doesn't really matter where this ends up at the very bottom. It doesn't matter if the one at the very bottom is on or off, because ultimately we want the entire circuit up top here to alternate on, off, on, off, on, off. And it's a good thing I tested this, because it looks like where that signal is coming up is actually not quite enough to reach around this corner here. So I'm just going to replace one of these with a redstone repeater, and that will send the signal all the way around. Now coming back around to the lever here that goes all the way back to that redstone torch elevator, we actually need to put in a redstone clock here so that when we flick the lever, it alternates on off. And so I'm going to replace some of this redstone dust here with a couple of solid blocks like this. On the bottom here, I'll put a redstone torch followed by a repeater facing that direction. And I'm going to set this repeater to 2 ticks. The reason for this is if it goes too fast, the water from the dispensers will come out too quickly, and sometimes the portals won't have time to ignite. And so if this goes too fast, then it actually won't work as well. And so we'll put some redstone dust under that. And now when we flick the lever, the clock is in a on position. It's going to be stuck in that position, but when we flick this thing off, then this redstone clock is going to tick. It's doing one full on-off cycle about every second. So let's go back up top here. We should see the dispensers for the water ticking on and off. Perfect. That looks excellent. It looks like all 4 of them are going. So that is beautiful. So now if we were to put in the missing obsidian pieces, then the portals should start turning on and off. I'm going to go ahead and do that because we've got our kill chamber down there. The only thing that we're missing from this farm is the actual collection system. So this farm should technically work now. We just don't want to run it for too long before we put in the auto sorter. So let me turn this off. And I'm going to go replace the obsidian blocks for the portals so that they will work. And so it looks like when the circuit is off, these portals are going to be on. Which is fine. That's actually going to look really cool to have this thing lit up when it's not running. So now if we go back down below, I will turn on the redstone clock. We got a couple of piglins to spawn just from turning the portals on. And so now I'm going to head back up. You can see the portals are ticking on and off, and you can see tons and tons of zombie piglins spawning. The ones that spawn over here are going to spawn in the trough. They're going to get pushed down. Every now and then one of them will get stuck on the ice. That's fine. Another zombie piglin is going to spawn and push them over. And oh my, I need to go turn this off because we're already getting more spawns than we can handle right now. So the top is running. After we turn that on, we can turn on the trident killer and just let that run, and you can see it just make mincemeat of these piglins. And then I will turn that off. We may get 1 or 2 to drop down just because of how long it takes the water to push them in. But look at this thing. Oh my goodness, I'm already getting tons of XP from it. I'm not going to worry about the items that are in there right now, because I don't want to go in and accidentally pick up the trident and break the trident killer. So that is the gold farm. We've got the piglins spawning, we've got the trident killer. All that we need now is the auto sorting system, because without that, this thing, we can't get the stuff in the middle very easily. And even if we could get to it, we're going to be getting so much stuff so fast that without a good auto sorting system, our chests are just going to fill up. It's going to be chaos. So the auto sorting system, it's a standard auto sorter. We just need these items in this chest right here, and we need to get down below the the trident killer. So I'm going to come off to the side here. I'm going to dig down a little ways, and then I'm going to dig over to the obsidian to get under the actual kill chamber. That's another reason I made that out of obsidian, is so that's very easy to identify from below and very hard to break, so I don't accidentally break it with my pickaxe. Alright, so this is the platform where all the piglins are going to land. I'm going to dig down about 6 blocks below that, and probably about 10 or 12 blocks in that direction. Maybe another 6 blocks in that way. It sounds like another piglin finally made it down. So yeah, I'm going to dig out a pretty good sized area down here. Alright, so we should have something that looks kind of like this. The specific dimensions don't really matter. You can make it bigger or cozier if you prefer. You just need to have enough space to put in 6 chests plus the sorting system for those chests, plus hoppers, plus some blast furnaces. So I think this should be enough space. So what we need to do is we need to get a hopper minecart below one of these blocks. We only need one below one because the pistons are going to be pushing the piglins around, so any loot that drops will eventually get pushed over on top of whichever block has the hopper minecart below it. So I'm just going to pick this one because it's the closest to where my sorting system is going to go. And then right below that, we're going to put the block of your choice. Now we can get rid of that temporary block. And we're going to come up here, put down a rail, and then on that rail, put a hopper minecart just like that. And I messed that up. This needs to be a hopper. So I'm going to put a temporary block there. Now we'll get rid of this block there. We'll put a hopper going into that block. You can put another hopper there, but this is going to be the hopper system that delivers items to the auto sorters. And since I haven't built that yet, then I just use a temporary block. So we want the hopper minecart to sit on top of this hopper. So put a rail right there, we'll put a hopper on top of that, perfect. Now I'm going to surround this hopper minecart with other blocks just to make sure that it doesn't accidentally move around somehow. You know, now that I've dug out this whole area, I actually think I want the sorter going that way instead of this way. So I'm actually going to dig out a completely separate area just like this, but in this direction instead. Like I said, I've never built this farm in a survival world before, so I'm making a couple mistakes, learning along the way, kind of how I want to do things. So there are 3 items that we're going to get from this farm that we need auto-sorted. We need rotten flesh, gold nuggets, and gold ingots. And I've got some of those right here. And I'm actually going to, instead of just doing 3 chests to auto-sort this, I'm going to do 6. And the reason for that is in testing, sometimes auto sorters, they're not perfect. Sometimes items slip past for whatever reason, and we don't want any of these things making it past the chest that they're supposed to go into, because at the very end of this auto sorter, there's going to be some blast furnaces to smelt up all the gold swords. And if any of these items make it into the blast furnace, they're going to clog that up. So that's why I'm going to do 6. I'm going to do 2 chests for each item instead of just 1. So we're going to need 6 chests for this. So I'm going to put a temporary block right here. There will eventually be a hopper that goes there, and then it's going to turn and go this way. And so we'll put our first chest here, so that, pretend that's a hopper. The reason I'm using temporary blocks instead of hoppers is hoppers, you kind of have to build them backwards because they have to point into the other block that they're going to flow stuff into. And so that's going to be a hopper. We're going to need another hopper right below that, and then a third hopper right below that. And so this will be our first chest. And so we're going to do a double chest right there, and then another double chest right there. And below that, I'm going to do another double chest like that. And then I'm going to have a hopper going from each of these double chests into this bottom one. So anything that goes into either of these double chests will end up in the bottom, which means that for each item type, we've got 3 double chests that can fill up before we run out of space. That should be pretty good. So we'll repeat that here. We'll do another 2 double chests with a third one under it, and then 2 hoppers going into that, and then a third set of double chests like this. And that will be all of our storage containers for the rotten flesh, the gold ingots, and the gold nuggets. So I will continue the air quotes hoppers going across the top like this. And so when we get to the very end, anything that's left over, I want to go into a double chest right here. And so that's going to be all the gold swords. All the gold swords are going to go into that double chest. Below that, we're going to put 2 blast furnaces. The reason I'm using 2 is because, guys, we're going to get so much loot from this. And I'm afraid that with 1 blast furnace, it's going to not be enough. It's going to fill up. So I'll put blast furnace there, and now we can put hoppers going into that one and that one. Finally, I'm going to put a hopper going like that into that hopper, and then underneath this I'm going to put one going there and one going there. So anything that gets smelted up in these blast furnaces will go into these hoppers, which will eventually flow into this chest. So this is where I'm going to put the gold nuggets, because when the gold swords get smelted down, they're going to turn into gold nuggets. So they'll just flow right over here into this chest with all the other gold nuggets. Now we should be able to break down these temporary blocks and put in the actual hoppers that we're going to need for this. So if I come around back here, let me give myself a little bit more space to work with. Around back, we're going to have hoppers going into the backs of each of these chests. And then on top of that, we want a row of temporary blocks like this. And then on top, we're going to have hoppers that go into those back blocks. It is very important that they go into the back blocks and not down or sideways. And I'll explain what those blocks are for when we get to the sorting part of this. And then finally, we're going to do one more row of hoppers across the very top that go into that chest on the end. And this is why I say you kind of have to build hoppers backwards, because you place them facing the block that the hopper is going to feed into. And so we'll do like that. So now everything from the hopper minecart will get pulled down and go into this chain of hoppers and ultimately end up in this chest at the very end. Make sure that there's nothing in there right now. Good. And behind that is going to be our auto sorting system. All right, so now let's put in the sorting system behind this. So on the very back, behind these hoppers, we're going to skip a row and we're going to put down a row of solid blocks on the ground like this. On the front of each of these, we're going to do a redstone torch. And behind them, we will do some repeaters. Where are my repeaters? And the repeaters should be going into the blocks like so. Behind that, we'll do another row of solid blocks. And then we're going to do some solid blocks on top of the redstone torches like this. And also behind that, and one more behind that above the repeaters. Right now, right behind the hoppers, we're going to put down some comparators, and they need to be placed. This one may be a little tricky. They need to be placed so that the side that has two prongs is facing that way, facing the hoppers. And we want these behind each hopper like that. This one's going to be tricky. I can remove this obsidian. That one's just holding the minecart in place. So I'll put that down and then I'll replace the obsidian. Good. And then behind that, we're going to put redstone dust across that row, and across that row. So this is the same auto sorter that we've used in other places. I think I used this on the honey farm, although it's a little bit longer, because how big this needs to be depends on the signal strength that you want to lock and unlock the hoppers. In this case, we want the signal strength to be 3. So out of the comparator, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 rows of redstone. Once all of those are lit up, then the repeater will turn off the redstone torch, which will unlock the hoppers on the front, which will pull an item out. The way that that is going to happen is each of these hoppers right here, the middle row that's facing the comparators, in each of these we're going to put the item that we want this hopper to pull out, this sorter to pull out. So I'm going to put some rotten flesh in that one. I need another rotten flesh to go in the middle there. You're going to need 2 of each item that you want sorted to get started with. Alright, so I've got a rotten flesh there. We'll put a rotten flesh in that one. And you can see that these aren't getting pulled out because the hopper below it is currently locked by that redstone torch. So we'll put gold ingot in those 2 and then a gold nugget in these 2. The rest of this we need to fill up with 44 blocks of your choice. It can be any block you want, but it needs to be something that will never get through this system. So what I like to do is I like to just name something. So I'm going to name this blocker. It's just stone, but by naming it, it cannot stack with other stone. And so by naming it, you're making it unique. And even if other stone ends up in this system, it's not going to get pulled into the hoppers because it doesn't match this type of stone, which is called blocker. So it's a nice little trick to make sure that your sorting system is filled with stuff that doesn't stack with other top block types. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to put 41 in this last slot. So this is the max signal strength that this hopper can emit before it unlocks the circuit. So if anything else gets pulled into this hopper, then it's going to turn off the redstone torch below it, which will unlock the hopper right below it, which will pull something out of this hopper. So I'm going to borrow this rotten flesh just to test this. So we'll throw this one in there and you can see it gets pulled out into this hopper. It stays in this hopper because that hopper is locked again by the redstone torch, but everything after that will then get put into the chest. So in each of these we want to put in 41 blocks. You can distribute them however you like. You just want to make sure that it's only, I guess not 41, 44 blocks distributed across these other 4 slots. You could also just do 4 blocks and then 41 of the item that you want sorted, but I like doing it this way. Alright, and then the last thing is we need to throw in some fuel sources into each of these blast furnaces. Can't forget that. I love my kelp XP farm because it provides me with unlimited supply of dried kelp blocks, which actually make for a really good fuel source. Each one of these will smelt 20 items, and they're so easy to get. So I'll throw in a full stack of dried kelp blocks into each of these blast furnaces to smelt all the gold swords. Now that should take care of it. I mean, obviously we could do some more work making this thing look a little bit nicer. I'll come back at some point and put item frames above each of these so I know where's the rotten flesh, the gold ingots, and the gold nuggets, but that should be it. So let's come back up here. We'll turn on the portals. We should start getting lots and lots of zombie piglins to spawn and drop down here. And then we will turn on the trident killer. And by the way, don't worry about your trident. It doesn't need to be enchanted. You don't have to heal it or anything. It's never going to lose durability. And as long as you're holding an item that has looting 3, then it applies to the trident killer that is killing stuff. And so we are getting the looting 3 effect on the trident right now just because I'm holding a sword that has looting 3. Alright, so we've killed several guys now. I'll leave that running and we'll come down here and we should see things starting to sort. You can see the blast furnaces are smelting up the golden swords. The gold nuggets will go into this chest. Look at that, we've already got almost a full stack and this thing's been running for like a minute. We've already got a few gold nuggets and tons of rotten flesh. So yeah, do not forget the blast furnaces to break down the gold swords, because that's half the gold of this farm. If I wasn't doing that, I would only have half as many gold nuggets. So you definitely want to smelt up the golden swords to get twice as much gold from this thing. So there is our gold farm. Look at this, guys. There are so many zombie piglins. This trident killer may not actually be efficient enough. I know in Calarkel's gold farm on the Realm, she had a different trident killer that was designed by Silent Whisper, and I think the purpose for that was to keep up with all the spawns, because look at this. I'm actually going to turn this thing off to just help catch up with all the piglins, because this is incredible. Alright, so I've let this thing run for about 3 minutes, and let's see how we're doing. Like I said earlier, you're not going to get a ton of gold ingots from this. They just don't drop gold ingots. What you are going to get a ton of is gold nuggets. And from just the few minutes that this has been running, I've gotten 27 gold ingots worth of gold nuggets. So that's where all the gold's going to come from in this farm, especially if you smelt up all of the gold swords. You do want to check this every now and then. Even though I've got 2 sorters, it looks like it did get clogged up with rotten flesh. So you're just going to have to keep an eye on that. It's going to happen. But by having 2 sorters for each item, it should slow it down some, so you're not constantly getting this thing clogged up. And that is going to wrap things up for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, this was a long one. It took me a long time just to get all the resources for this, and then the build took a long time. So I hope you enjoyed it, because I certainly enjoyed it. I think this thing actually looks really cool. I'm going to do some work in between episodes to do a little bit more decorating on it. Just having 4 bare portals like that, it's not too impressive. So I'm going to try to spruce it up a little bit, but I am tired. I'm done for tonight. So one parting word, do not leave with this thing running. If you are going to leave the area, if you're going to log out, turn it off or it could break. And with the current trident killer that I have in there, you might want to stay down there and help kill off some of the piglins just so it doesn't get clogged up. But I hope you enjoy this gold farm. I hope you get tons and tons of gold from it. I'm looking forward to using it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please hit that like button. And while you're down there, feel free to subscribe so you'll get notified of future episodes as they come out. Also, big shout out to my patron Summer. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, then head on over to Patreon, look up Newbie Dave. There's a link in my About page on YouTube. And I would really appreciate your support. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.